Hey, what's up guys, you got Gypsy, and we are back here today with my week 4 game up against Zazo for DPL. So for this game, it's actually game 7, it's going to be a tiebreak game, so the winner of this takes the week. So it's the Crit City versus the Crusaders is the team that Anthony's on, Zazo's on, and yeah, it's looking to be an interesting one. He's got a pretty threatening team. He's got Zardex with other physical threats like Lucario and Crook, which definitely pose a bit of a threat to this team. And then obviously stuff like Togekiss, which is a bit annoying, though I do have Rotom and Klefki, which definitely help out with that. The main kind of threats that I identified going into this were going to be Swords Dance Lucario, some variant of Zardex. Breaking Zardex just does really well versus this team, and then a Carmine Raikou, which Carmine or Specs, I think both of those sets, or like a Shukalure, something like that, have a lot of merit here. But I've built a pretty good team that I think can definitely prove victorious here. I'm just going to try and remember the sets because this was a few weeks ago that I actually played this, but I know I have a weakness policy in Fernape, and the kind of concept behind that is that I've got screens on Klefki with Light Clay, which really kind of ease the defensive burden that my Lando has in this game, and it does allow Ape to set up an SD and potentially proc weakness policy behind screens versus threats like Togekiss clicking Air Slash, Tentacruel clicking Scald, even like something like Crocodile clicking EQ if I've got a Reflect up. So yeah, definitely a viable win condition here. Mac Punch plus Fire Punch or Flare Blitz, whichever I ran here, is amazing in this game. Honestly, it doesn't have a lot of counterplay to it, and I do have EQ for the Tenta and the Zardex. So yeah, Ape is a really phenomenal win con in this game. Then I have a defensive Rotom with T-Wave. I think I'm T-Wave, Volt, Hydro, Pain Split on this team, I think. And then, like I said, I've got Screens Klefki with Toxic to catch something like Carmine Raikou, and obviously cripple like a Roosting Zard. Then I've got a very bulky Mega Guard. So this Mega Guard is actually really amazing versus Tony's team. It's a bulky variant, so it lives stuff like it lives something like a +2 Bullet Punch from Life Orb Lucario, which is pretty amazing. It takes hits. It actually lives a Jolly Flare Blitz after rocks from Zardex, from like Jolly Max Attack Zardex. So yeah, this guard is a really clean spread. It's able to comfortably take on the Crocodile. Nothing Crook can do can Oko Guard, and Guard obviously Oko's back with Hyper Voice. I think I might have been, I don't know if I was Will-O-Wisp on this set. I was definitely Wish-Teched. No, I think I was Wish-Teched, Taunt, and Hyper Voice on this set. Something like that. Then I have a Rock Polish defensive Lando with Rock Polish 3 attacks, actually, on this team. No, I'm Rock Polish Rocks 2 attacks, actually, EQ and Stone Edge. Really fantastic win con in this game. If I can remove Bronzong, which is certainly achievable with my banned Pursuit Drapion in the last slot, this Landorus can actually win in an endgame situation, or it can act as a defensive check to his Zardex. I just remembered I'm actually Hyper Voice, Psyshock, Healing Wish, and Taunt on this guard, so guard can always bring back either Infernape or Lando in this game if they get weakened early on. So that's going to be the team. Ideally, I want to get rocks up early if I can, but more than likely set up screens with Klefki, potentially use Togekiss as bait to proc Ape's weakness policy in the mid to late game, and either win with Ape Guard or Lando. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to lead off with Lando here, as he leads off with his Raikou. Now this is an interesting turn 1 matchup. Zazo's a smart player, so I could be Scarf Lando, I could be Yachi Lando. He's probably going to switch to account for both of those situations. I could just be bulky enough to live like a Life Orb, HPI, something like that. Alternatively, he could be Shuka Raikou, he could be Scarf Raikou, he could be bulky enough to live an Earthquake, he could be Magnet Rise. Regardless, he's going to switch to Togekiss, and I'm going to make my play of switching to Klefki. Certainly the best play we can both make. So I'm going to go hard Klefki, he goes hard into his Togekiss, and this is a matchup at first glance that I'm fine with, because Klefki should be able to Toxic Togekiss, start setting up screens, and then proceed to spike up. He doesn't have any form of removal outside of Defog Togekiss, that's really nice for me. Getting up spikes will be really nice to weaken down the Crook, Raikou, and the Lucario. So I'm gonna throw out my light screen here as he actually reveals Seismic Toss, and this is interesting. Seismic Toss, a really nice way of wearing down everything on my team, Rotom included, stuff that would usually resist Air Slash. Wouldn't really care too much about Air Slash, maybe something like a bulky Wish Guard. So yeah, so really nice use of Togekiss there from Zazo. So I'm going to throw out Toxic as he reveals to be Lumberry. And that's pretty bad for me because now I've wasted a turn clicking Toxic in a sense because I could have got a Spike Up, could have got a Reflect Up. But the fact that he's Lum tells me that he's more than likely the fact that he's Lum tells me that he's got a sort of faster game plan here. He wants to get the game over quicker. Heal Bell I could see on like a fatter Togekiss with like a fatter team in mind. Lum is something that Zazo likes to use. I've seen him use Lum on something like Mew before to get rid of the Toxic with Toxic Spikes. And it's a way he likes to approach kind of faster paced games, so that gives me some important info here. I'm just going to throw out another Toxic as he goes to the last Seismic Toss, and I'm going to preserve Klefki here because I can get a screen up in the late game if I need to, in the middle late game, to position Ape in the spot that I need it to stack. I can either get a Reflect or a Light Screen, or potentially threaten something out with a T-Wave or a Toxic. So I'm going to save keys here and just go out to my Lando. I should be able to set up rocks on this thing and start firing off Stone Edges, as he is just going to go for the Seismic Toss once again. And this turn I am just going to throw up my rocks. I want to get my rocks up for Zard predominantly, because Zard at 50% is a lot easier to check than Zard at 100 obviously. So it also breaks sashes on something like Lucario. So he's going to go for Toxic here with his Togekiss, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to click Edge here, and unfortunately I do miss. And this miss is really tough for me because this would have put his Togekiss in range of any attack after that Edge, assuming he doesn't click Roost there, and it would have punished him there for making the Defog play. But unfortunately I am going to miss, and he's going to now be able to click Defog, and this is pretty tough because yeah, now I won't be able to stand with Lando and get my rocks up, or like beat down his Togekiss, as I am going to be forced to keep my Lando around because it is really important for checking his Zard and his Lucario and stuff. So I'm going to go into my guard here as he actually reveals the Endeavor, and this was a play that really kind of caught me by surprise. I felt like defogging there was always his best play. We sort of spoke about it after the game as well. He agreed he should have defogged there 100% just to preserve a field free of rocks, but it really works out for him as he's able to catch my guard and bring it down to a really low amount of health. Had I not missed the edge there, I would never have had to go out into guard, because I could just take Togekiss out the following turn with another Stone Edge. And Lando wouldn't have lost like 3 turns of health from Toxic, it would have only lost 2. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to switch out to my guard, and I end up taking an Endeavor, which I didn't expect to take, truth be told, as he is going to get a huge amount off of my guard. Now I'm going to Mega up here, and he's actually revealed to be faster than my guard. So we essentially lose guard completely because it's going to be outsped by stuff like his Raikou, and he obviously has extreme speed priority on Lucario. Yeah, so we're going to lose guard in the process, and that's pretty unfortunate because, like I said, guard is pivotal in this game, and having Healing Wish when it does get low later on would be really nice to revive something like Lando, which can act as a win con. But unfortunately, we do lose a lot of health on guard, and he's just going to be able to take us out here with a T-Bolt, so that's pretty brutal. So guard's going to go down. I'm going to go back into keys here and set up a screen, as he's just going to Volt out, revealing that he's not Life Orb, not Specs or anything like that. He's going to go into his Zard here as I go into my Lando. Now this is a tricky turn. I feel like he could always go Crook to scout for the Stone Edge. It's a 50-50 of sorts because he doesn't have to Mega Evolve, and a first turn he can potentially DD up or make any kind of play he wants to make with Zard in regular form. So going Crook avoids any kind of him losing any 50-50. If I edges he DDs, then he's going to lose his Zard for nothing. If I EQ his DDs, then he's going to lose his Zard for nothing. If he goes Crook, he gets the Intimidate off, or Bronzong for that matter, and is able to capitalize the next turn, maybe get rocks up for himself, or potentially Pursuit me with Crook, something like that. But he's actually going to stay in and just DD in Mega form. So he's going to SD here as I just throw up my rocks. So he's going to take me out here with the Flare Blitz, and his Zard is going to be not actually in range of EQ at the moment, depending on his spread. So I'm going to have to sack off Drapion here to put him in range of Ape's attack. and taking that here with EQ. And this is pretty bleak at this point. It's pretty clear that we're going to lose this one, as his crook is going to come in and get the Intimidate off. I'm going to switch hard out into my Rotom. There might be a chance that I can SD up with crook depending on with Ape, depending on what this crook set is. He's revealed knock twice, so I'm thinking he might be scarfed potentially, based on the way he's playing it, and based on his team composition, he doesn't mind having a Scarfer, to be honest. A Scarfer is pretty nice versus my team, giving him something to always outspeed Gardevoir that isn't Raikou. Raikou is not really a guardable check, and obviously priority Lucario can be scouted for and can be built around with the guard that I mentioned that I have. So he really wouldn't mind having a Scarfer in his team. So I'm just going to staying with my Rotom, kind of sack it off to this crook. In my mind at this point, I'm thinking he probably is Scarf, but he's going to reveal here to have rocks, and so he's clearly not Scarf. So this is kind of GG at this point. It was possible that I could SD up a couple of times with Ape if that was a Scarf crook, because I do have quite a bit of bulk on my Ape, so I could SD up and potentially be able to take the Raikou out at 88% at +4. And then I would obviously be able to take the Lucario crook and Bronzong out, but because he wasn't Scarfed, he is able to pretty much force me to attack in there with my Rotom, as unfortunately he is going to get the power into full power, and that is going to be the game. So pretty unfortunate one. Definitely I think Tony played really well with his Togekiss early. That was a really unconventional set, and it put me on the back foot early. Certainly the Stone Edge miss did really cost me. It pretty much led to me sacking off my guard, which had a pretty phenomenal matchup this game. He turned out to be an Air Balloon Lucario with E-Speed and stuff like that, so those moves were doing very little damage to my guard, who was very defensive, so that would have been really nice to have around. Obviously he did have Zong, but then I had like stuff like Bandrapion, Infernape on my team who take advantage of that, so yeah, kind of rough, but it does happen. That is the risk you run when you run Stone Edge. And yeah, it was definitely cool to see Togekiss. I can't say I've ever seen Togekiss used in that capacity before, but I think now you're going to see more Seismic Toss, Togekiss popping up. It's a cool way of getting around conventional Togekiss switch-ins like Rotom, Excadrill and stuff like that. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting game. Good game to Tony. He does end up taking the week for the Crusaders. Crit City is now, I think at this point, 2-2, I want to say. I think this was week 4. Yeah, we were 2-1 up. So yeah, this is 2-2 at this point for Crit City. So pretty unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is. So that's going to be week 4. Next week we faced, in week 5, I believe we faced off against the Rising Phoenix. So that should be an interesting one. I think. No. Next week we face off against the Crusaders. I think I said Tony was from the Crusaders. He's actually from Jerry Evolution. Getting all these things mixed up because this happened so long ago. So next week in week 5 we're taking on the Crusaders, and that's going to be an interesting one. I'll be facing off against L5 for the second time in DPL, so look out for that. And yeah, drop a like if you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the game, and make sure to go and check out Tony. I don't think he's uploading anymore, but I'll link his channel anyway because he's a good friend of mine, and he does upload some good content. So yeah, go check that out. Let me know what you guys thought of the match in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.